So, Chris Rogers, thank you for joining us today on the Black Texas Alabama Serving Knowledge. I know that you are a former player for the University of Alabama, and you actually played with Nick Saban. Tell the viewers a little bit about your time there and your most memorable experiences there.
Playing for the University of Alabama, it was an honor and a pleasure. Playing for the great coach, Nick Saban, I mean, going down as the greatest of all time. My most memorable moment at the University of Alabama, I would say, would be scoring a touchdown at Bryant Denny in front of 100,000 fans, screaming your name on national TV. That was a moment that was big for me because I played defensive back. I'm not on the offensive side. I'm on the defensive side. So being able to score a touchdown in a critical game to help us finish that season undefeated was vital for me and my family. So it was a blessing to be a part of winning national championship, playing with multiple guys who went to the NFL and had great careers. So yes.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I know I was a cheerleader in high school and we got to cheer in the stadium. So it's nowhere near 100,000 people, but
Mhm.
it was an awesome experience just to be on the field. So I can only imagine what it was like scoring a touchdown.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just for me to kind of put that thing in perspective, like you think about the historical context, like 1968, 1970 was the time that Bear Bryant opened the doors to, allow the first African American football player to come and be able to play there. And you fast forward less than 40, 50 years later, Chris Rogers, first generation student, being able to score a touchdown at the University of Alabama in a meaningful game and a meaningful opportunity to kind of create opportunity. So it's just a blessing. So I think every kid would love to do that. And now on the other side of the tracks, I see so many kids who have the potential and the skill set, but very few, less than 1%, 2% make it to be on that stage.
Yes, outstanding. So not only did you play on the team, you were on a championship team.
Mhm.
What values and work ethics did you learn from that? And how has it helped shape your professional career?
I think the biggest thing that learning from the great Nick Saban was when he first got there. And I'm gonna translate this, tie this back to corporate America, but just like it was a culture shock, right? It's a culture shock. You got to learn new jargon, new plays, new terminologies. And then the book was so big, it felt like we was getting a PhD in football, right? And then every week the plays change constantly. It's like what makes Coach Saban so great, he able to audible in the midst of a situation. So, and if you watch any game, Alabama, the first quarter, team may seem like they're beating us or hanging with us, but Coach Saban does a terrific job of being able to adjust. And the reason why he's able to adjust because the players are intelligent. And then so you fast forward that into when you take that the skill set, the know-how, the work ethic into corporate America, you got to be able to think on your feet, make smart decisions, and then like live with the consequences. A lot of people are afraid to make mistakes, but like playing on that stage and that level, you prepared yourself for the moment. So whatever the outcomes are, you can live with it. So I think that has helped and defined my career so far.
Yeah, so I know that Nick Saban has an 80% graduation rate.
Mhm.
I don't think any other college football coach has that type graduation rate. And that's outstanding. I mean, not only is he preparing you on the football field to think quickly and be intellectually challenged, he's also doing it academically, making sure that you obtain your goals in that area as
Yeah,
well.
so for me, I graduated with my master's, and I think the biggest challenge, right? Not challenge, like you got so many kids that still first generation kids are coming through the system, right? And the parents and nowadays society like is saying whether football ends or don't end for you, you want to make sure you leave with the paper. If you leave with the paper, then you can transition and have a great not a you want to be able to sustain and support your family in the right way based on the way the things you saw growing up, whether they're good or bad indifference. But now you can do something legally and professionally. So that's the most important thing. And I think the kids will be not smart to not take advantage of that. And the kids that he's recruiting understand like I'm here to put millions of dollars into the University of Alabama pockets, but I'm also want to make sure I do myself justice and get my college degree or get my master's or whatever that looks like. So I'm proud of the university, glad to be a part of it. This coaching staff and everybody was great, tremendous.
Outstanding. So when you graduated, you were able to tap into the entrepreneurship side of your talents, and you created a nonprofit named T.A.P. You've done some impressive work with that, feeding 10,000 families. I mean, that's mind blowing. Tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
I mean, so when we think about, I was one of the people I wanted to leverage my experience at the University of Alabama. Also joined a fraternity called Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, and then I think that helped shape mold me also to my outlook on life. And then when I was in grad school, I started TAP. Right, I started TAP based off a class that I was taking at the University of Alabama. So I was like, I got the best, brightest mind. I was taking this entrepreneurship class, receiving my master's, and I was like, hey, how can I? They give you all the, this how you build a business plan, this is the step, blah, 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 right? They give you all this stuff you're supposed to do. And then you're supposed to present at the end of the class. So I asked my professor, I said, how can I take this thing that we're going to be doing for a class assignment and turn it to reality? And she was like, well, Chris, you're doing all the steps. You just got to go file the paperwork. You just got to go take it one more extra step. Then you'll be set up as a corporation. So I'm a practical person. Like you can't just tell me do pie in the sky. Like I would never be people who do simulate training. That don't work for me. I'm a person. I got to feel it, touch it, experience it. And I was like, hey, let's I want to start a nonprofit 501c3. What is that? And then so in that class I was able to understand, educate myself and understand like board of trustees, that's what you need, you're filing. And she just walked me through I just went through the course. And we started birth tap right there at the University of Alabama. While I won a national championship, we beat Texas that year, finished 14-0. But then I was also able to get like case studies, right? Like real live experience. Like, hey man, I'm building this organization, and I got all these NFL, my teammates going to NFL, et cetera. Whether the Julio Jones, the Mark Ingrams, the Mark Barons, the Marcel Darius, all these guys went top 10, top 5, Dante Hightower, et cetera, Rolando McClain, Trent Richardson, all these guys, right? Just all on the team. And so you get to ask them, hey man, what are some things you wish you known prior to coming to college? What are some things you're struggling with? What are some things, and you start to like build. That's really how TAP was birthed, based off my teammates' experience and my experience of how can we pay it forward with the next generation. And so then we fast forward all that to over 10 years, a decade later. The pandemic's happening, and a lot of our people in the community that was affected look like us, come from where we come from. So how can we get resources? How can we pull? How can we help? People losing their job, businesses closing, and then I wanted to help, right? It was a risk. Everybody was scared. Everybody was kind of unsure, like, should we go out and do COVID? How does it make sense? All this other stuff. But I was fortunate in my board, the people that volunteered, the players, NFL players, the cities who allowed us to kind of come into their cities, go to their community and serve the community. And they really, I tell people, when you volunteer with TAP, most people think you serving like, hey, I'm about to help this unfortunate kid, right? Or I'm about to go help the homeless or whatever. But when you come talk to our program, like we don't look at anybody less than. We kind of lean from the lens like we were just you. You know what I'm saying? We one paycheck away or one getting fired, of becoming you. So we don't look down at you. How can we stand an olive branch? How can we help you? And those people end up doing more for us than we do for them. So so we just love TAP. TAP has been a phenomenal organization. So yeah, I know I went a long ramble on that, but
No, you didn't. Actually, I'd like for you to tell the audience what does TAP stand for. I didn't tell them
oh
the whole
yes. Yeah,
acronym.
so it's funny. I gotta give the backstory on TAP. So at first, TAP was originally standing for Touchdown Alabama Programs, right? Because but then my professor was like, "Oh, Chris, that's too broad." Then we had gotten into this whole royalty rights with the university. You know, you got to pay them royalty for using Alabama touchdown. And so I was like, oh no, we can't do that. Then so I was like, well, then she was like, so Chris, what is your true mission and vision for this? And I was like, and I didn't want to make it like the Chris Rogers Foundation or whatever. Like I wanted something that can like outlive me. And then I was like, we really serving the people. Like we can't do this without the people. So we lean from that focus. So together assisting people because it's gonna take all of us to do this. So that's kind of how we landed on T.A.P. Together assisting people. Yeah.
Yeah, Alabama is serious about their royalty
Yeah.
fees using
Yeah,
their
yeah. I went.
name.
I was at the time. I didn't understand that whole process, and they was like, "Oh no, whether you play here, your IP, intellectual property, all that stuff, man." So that's for another conversation. But yeah, it was a whole another ordeal. And but T.A.P. That's what it is. And I'm actually thankful that is what it's called now.
Very good. So, in addition to T.A.P., you are also the senior program manager at
Mhm.
ServiceNow. How did you get into tech, and what is your role there?
Yeah, I got into well, I kind of I say 2014 we kind of started dabbling into like tech from I kind of started seeing that was kind of be the next wave 2014 cycle. We took a kid to we partnered with a program called Yes We Code, took kids to Essence, and we started dabbling with the program Alabama Power. We did a partnership, and they was talking about the opportunities and think tanks and all this other kind of jazz. But then I just kept learning, and then eventually I ended up meeting my wife, and then when I met her, she was working at Google. Later, she ended up finding her own app, her company called Community X, social impact, connecting, looking for change agent, take action, sign petitions, all this kind of stuff. So like from that, and then I kind of we left Birmingham, moved to Silicon Valley, and you just in the tech mecca where you just exposed to so many opportunities you just not exposed to in the South, where in like a 10-mile radius you got 50 companies, just companies you never heard of, like what this company do. Then you got to go research a company, like, oh, and then so from that, things just spiral and just networking, right? Networking, serving the community, and then like I said, when the $10,000, we served 1 million pounds of food across the country, but we did in San Jose and Oakland, and we was able to partner with Kendra Barnes at the time, who's a wide receiver for the 49ers. That gave us tons of exposure. We worked with the mayor, the city councilman. Then we went to Oakland on the east side, worked with the fraternity. So like all that kind of stuff kind of bubbled up and accumulated, where the tech company was like, hey, hey, we got this role. George Floyd happened. People like, these roles popping up, and my experiences, right, kind of was already there. Like, how do we mobilize? How do we serve the community? How do we get more African Americans, more Latinx people into tech? Like, what that looks like? And so that's kind of how my role was birthed. Yeah.
Yes, so I have a computer science degree, so I've been in tech for a very long time. I won't tell you how long. And I know that technology is the great economic equalizer. I mean, it's the only field that I can think of where you can graduate with a degree and start out making $80,000.
Mhm.
So I am very passionate about getting our people into tech fields. And I tell everyone that you don't have to have a tech degree to work for a tech company.
No, that's the biggest misconception, right? Like when you look at the job descriptions, when you look at the people they put in front of us, like I tell people all the time, like it's actually harder to go to the NFL and NBA than it is to get a tech job, right? Or to go to tech. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, the thing that make it look so easy is we know somebody of somebody who went to the University of Alabama or Auburn or went to the NFL. So we like, oh yeah, it's easy, right? But when you start breaking that thing down across all the high school players that play football or basketball, and you look at where they end up going, like the University of Alabama and the state of Alabama, right? All the first team players, it will be they would take the best 8 to 10 players from the state of Alabama will get a scholarship. They only give out 25 scholarships a year. So 8 out of 10 players in the state get a scholarship. And then all the other kids, it's 60 players. The average player on each team is 60 people. 8 of them get a scholarship to the University of Alabama. But if you got a tech, you know, whether you got a degree in HR or a degree in interior design or marketing, those all those roles exist in tech. But our people, our community just haven't been exposed to understand how they skill set transition over, how important it is. And they only think engineering, you know, computer science, like which, like I say, I'm on the engineering computer science track because that's why I represent for the computer science engineering IT sector. But there's so many other jobs and roles in the company. We are 15,000 company globally. So everybody can't just be engineers, but a good
Exactly.
portions are, but like everybody's not. So I just tell people like, hey man, do your research. Like you gotta go and look on the job. Don't be afraid of the job. Like and find which role best suits you.
Yeah, a lot of times, something that you're actually passionate in, if you know someone in the company, you could potentially pitch what you want to do in the company. So that role may not already be there. You can create a role for yourself, even coming in as a contractor, just getting your foot in the door.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and that's the thing, right? Like today's time, right? Like I talk to some people and they and whatever, right? Like get into the field, you may have to take multiple interviews. So a lot of people tend to think that, hey, I'm gonna take one interview and the first one I get, that's what I'm gonna go with, right?
Hmm.
Some people work that way, but it haven't worked that way for me in the past. But so I just tell people like the more people you talk to, right, good or bad, indifference, like it's gonna make you better. So you may interview with like 5 or 6 companies. Some you may not know of, some people know of, but like it's all about your personal journey, personal growth. That's like how's it gonna make you better? That's what I look at. Like so, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So tell us a little bit about ServiceNow, the company.
Yeah. ServiceNow was software ticketing service company, and we represent 80% of the Fortune 500 companies when it comes down to doing their ticketing system. So yeah, so it's an amazing company. We're a software company. We're on the back end, a lot of things. So a lot of people may not be familiar with us because we don't sell directly to consumers. We sell to large enterprises. So we think about American Express, AT&T, the NBA, you know, all those people uses our technology and platform to execute their job to be more efficient.
Yeah, when I was doing research on the company, I would say surprised that you guys have won a lot of awards, being the best company to work for, Fortune 100, number one company. I mean, you guys won a lot of awards.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, it's one of those. I tell people we're the best kept secret in Silicon Valley. And part of that is like service now, like the motto is like humble and hungry, right? Like, and for a lot of us, you know, in the minority community, we don't really know what that means. Like, not to say we don't know what humble and hungry means, but like that jargon don't translate well to us when we're looking for a job. Like, like what does that mean? Like, I'm looking for somebody fast paced worker. Like, okay, so, yeah, you know, all that stuff, but that's the jargon you got to learn. And once you pick up on it, you're like, okay, all right, let me look at their books. Let me look at their 10K. Let me look at, you know, how they're growing, how they're projecting for 2025. You know, for us, we like they're talking about adding an extra 5,000 jobs by 2025. So like that means there's gonna be growth and opportunities for all kind of people. But like, how can we ensure that minorities know about these opportunities? So that's why I like having these discussions with people like yourself and your organization, the importance of exposing our youth to like, hey, it's great paying jobs, internships, full time employment, but you got to like hone in your skills and work on them.
So, going to that, how could an individual actually come work for your company? Do you need a degree for your degree to come work for your company? You need certifications. I mean, how can someone who's interested in working for Service now get in with the company?
So I would say that's a loaded question, right? And the only reason I say loaded, right? Like on paper, it says you don't need a college degree. You can be a high school person, right? But in all reality is you're gonna need some kind of like to put you over the top, whether you know, whether it's the college degree from wherever you went to school at, community college, Phoenix Online. But more important, like you're trying to get on the engineering side, right? It's a thing called GitHub. Like you have to have a GitHub account because that's your work that like so you it should help you in the interview skills and then also A lot of our I don't want to paraphrase but stereotype, but like a lot of our people just not exposed to the back end of the process. So
Right.
if they understand the back end, like it's not the jargon I want to use, not the sexiest job. When you think about debugging, all the Scrum Master, like that stuff don't appeal to none of us essentially, right? But like realistically, like it's so many of those jobs available. But like once we learn that skill set, and we more like want to do the UX designing, the website building, because that's something we can see and touch. But not
Right.
understanding the debugging, all that other stuff, the back end piece is super valuable to keeping making sure stuff stay online, make sure stuff, on, like the system didn't crash. And then also we got this other thing we do called virtual agents, like the virtual agent chats. So, and we that has been tremendous for us as well. Like just you call somebody, say, hey, you call it, wait, and you get the little pop in chat. They would say, hey, how can we help you? How can we assist? So like somebody manually automating that system, running that for us, also another big software we have.
Very good. So I know that a lot of students have contacted me about internships, and I know that your company actually does that in the summer. Um, what classification does a student need to be in college to actually get into your company? And what, I guess, majors are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we have roles across all the company, but like the house I sit in, computer science, IT, and then like you say, engineering, but engineering is so broad. Like,
Hmm.
you might be mechanical engineers, but we're looking for software engineers. So like, but so that would be the lens, but then also just coming to our events. Like I think for us, like we kind of ran into this, like a lot of students kind of wait to January, February time frame to start looking for internships. Like the tech companies, if you really want an internship with a tech company, you got to start in September. Like, start in September. September, October need to be the time your resume already flushed out. You need to go to these info sessions. You need to be plugging yourself in. And then when you go to the info session, ask questions. Like, because the recruiters, people like myself, we got 50, 100 people on the call. Who gonna stand out to us? Like, oh, Damisha asked a great question. Did she fill out the form? Did she apply? So you want to like further the conversation and kind of keep the thing going. But that would be my recommendation for anybody starting out. Like even with ServiceNow, any other tech company, September, October will be the time you need to start. And you can be a freshman, sophomore, but like I said, gonna go back to if you already built something, GitHub, you can talk through your code. You kind of can like, and then even if you don't, you still trying to in discovery phase. Um, you still can kind of come there. And also, we had this thing called technical writers. You got great writing skills, English majors, like art majors. Those people who they can come and write for us, but they just don't know that these internships opportunities are available because nobody ain't told them.
Right. So we actually have a comment in the chat. It says, can you give a high level overview of what ServiceNow covers? Tickets, change management, etc. So it doesn't have any CRM built in there.
CRM, man, I don't even know the jargon. CRM, that's CRM. Oh, RAM. Oh, yeah, we do have CRM built in. Yes, of course. Yes, yes. I'm sorry. I had to think about the jargon. Yes,
I
we
know.
have that. Yeah, we have that built in. Like it just which part of the house you gonna work on. Like every department got its own like side of the house. So yeah, we do have that. We have that CRM.
It's no problem.
I mean,
So,
I guess to tell them like our counterpart uh would be like Salesforce, and then we call it customer success management for us. So it's customer success managers. Those are people doing strategy, forecasting. So like, yeah, we got a business acumen. We got but those people most likely in those roles, MBA students. We hire product managers. So yeah, like I said, it's a we got sales, we got yeah, we got it all.
very good. So, how do you envision the world of tech and sports merging together? I know that the NBA players have started something entitled the Players Tech Summit. and actually looked at some of the reels earlier this week. And I know that you are big on players not just being athletes. So are you targeting some of the players across the country who may not actually get drafted into the NFL to come help you with ServiceNow? I mean, how do you
Uh,
envision that going?
um, I think it's two folds, right? Like it's all about maturity level, where you are. Like some players, they're still trying to achieve their dreams, and then some is kind of ready to kind of make the next step, right? So, but if the opportunity is out there, if the person got a skill set that I think can like be a culture add to our company, I definitely recommend them. But then also for me, what I'm doing personally outside of service now, we're hosting our own TAP conference where we're bringing thought leaders from the tech industry, like how to break in, not how to break into tech, but breaking into tech, what it takes, the grit, the mindset. Also talking to athletes about how to become a sports agent. How to manage your personal brand, like right, like financial literacy, cash, changing athlete spending habits, and then also the real estate aspect of like, because so many, and then athletes, the real estate, right? You get this money, you don't know what to do with the money, but then it's commercial real estate, housing, what people kind of know, affordable housing. So it's a bunch of different pockets. And the last thing I think a lot of our students end up in who are athletes, they may not want to come work in corporate. They just, it may not be a good fit for them, personality wise, fit wise. But they may want to go, I can say workforce development, but blue collar, skilled labor jobs, whether that's working at Coca-Cola, whether that's working in construction industry, starting your own business, or you want to become a police officer, right? Like, so having those conversations, having those channels for those students to kind of come and see people that look like them, to kind of who kind of been in a similar path, who've been on a journey with them, to say, hey, how did you make that move? Like, what did you do? And then lastly, ownership, right? That's a conversation that most guys they're starting to get there on the NFL side, but the NBA guys are a little bit further along, because I tell people it's 12 people on the roster in the NBA.
Yeah.
NFL, you know what I'm saying? It's 60 players, really 100, but like 60 make it. And so it's so many players to kind of, you can't have a one voice mind, because like, if you're in a fraternity or sorority, you kind of know, like, yeah, we got this meeting, we got to come out and speak as one, but in that meeting, it's like 10 different opinions or 10 different views or mindset that like an agenda. So it's a little bit harder for NFL players to come out and say, this is what we stand for, this is what we do, because the system is not built the same, but everybody expect them to do the same.
So my final question to you is I know a lot of parents have student athletes, whether they're male or female. What advice would you give the parents on guiding their kids when it comes to academics and trying to go professional in a sport?
Uh, you know, that question, not a loaded question, but it really depends on your kid ability. Like, of course, my
Well,
natural response.
everybody parent think their kid gonna be number one. So
Yeah, so that's why I kind of like take that out and I say, hey, where does your kid stack up in ranking? Like, it ain't me giving this opinion. You can tell if your kid is like, one thing I learned from Coach Saban, like in the NFL draft, like does this every time. It's like a meat show, right? NFL draft, they just made it like more sexy in marketing, right? You essentially taking a athlete. You measure him, say how tall is he, how fast can he run, how many muscles does he have, how many times, how high can he jump, and based on those potentials and measurables, we're gonna project, in his highlight film, we're gonna project what she first round, second round, third round, fourth round, right? And that same thing is true for the young athletes. Like, hey, mom, your son, and I look at his DNA, like you may got a good kid that's playing for a good team, making some local news. But if I talk to his mom is 5'4" and his dad is 5'7", and I say, what is your son 40 time? And you tell me a 4'7", 4'8", or whatever it is, if it's not a 4'3", 4'2", like he let him have a great high school experience. Like I don't never want to crush that, but like we need to be start thinking about other tools, other programs we can get him involved in because he's not gonna be the next Muzzy Bowl. He's not gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh,
Hmm.
Christian cutting my dream, like, like just like it is what it is. But he got a better chance of landing a tech job in engineering, software
Yes.
engineering, creating his own app, learning these different skill set, and then whether he go to a 2-year college, to save money, say, hey, my parents can't afford a 4-year, but you can go to Bishop, you can go to Lawson for 2 years, and then transfer to the University of Alabama, transfer to Auburn, or transfer to Princeton, wherever you're trying to go. But you got to understand, going into that community college, like I'm here. I need to make sure I keep my grades at a minimum 3.5. I'm gonna get in the triage program. And understand the system, and then work the system. And then when you transition, you get some other scholarships while you at whatever PWI. And then now your experience is great. You get on a leadership. You want to get involved in some kind of leadership program. Like, it's one thing just to be a shirt wearer, but you need some leadership ability, because if you're trying to come out here and compete in the corporate America, you have to do that for yourself.
Yeah, another person that we had on our talk a few months back, she came on and said that in the community colleges in Alabama, you can basically go for free because you get enough Pell Grant money to
Mhm.
cover all your expenses. I did not know that. I mean, free 2-year college, and you get
Yeah.
an associate degree.
No, I mean it's definitely a way to go, but just like I say, nobody's talking about that. But the other side of other people are talking about it, and they're sending their kids that track. And at the end of the day, whether you're at University of Alabama or whatever PWI you go to, or finish with a HBCU, what I'm saying, like whatever. Like I tell people, I don't care which one you go to, go get something,
Hmm.
because you're gonna need it. Because I mean, the dollar, the average, the woman's getting paid 63 cents on the dollar average. The males, I think 75, 80% on the dollar compared to everybody else. So like, we are on the low end of the totem pole when it comes to equal pay for the same work. So you got to give yourself advantage. You got to give yourself a chance.
Yes, I tell all my students and the people that I speak to that although a lot of these tech companies are saying, "Oh, you don't need a 4-year degree to come work for us,"
Mhm.
we need a 4-year, some type degree to come work for a tech company
Oh
just to get our foot in the door.
yeah,
Don't
I mean,
fall for the okey doke.
no. I mean, let's be honest. Like these people that's at the tech companies are. I mean, my colleagues are. I'm distinguishing myself, but like people from Cal, Berkeley, Cornell, Stanford. Then you got people that's the Morehouse, Howard. So like, it's just not anybody off the street just can come work. Like you have to
Right.
you have to know what you're talking about, to subject matter expert, to be in this space, and then like say to they're gonna pay you for your work. You got to put in the time and effort.
Hmm. So, want to see if anyone have any more questions before we end this. I really appreciate you doing this, Chris. It was very informative.
Yeah, anytime I talk to our community, I just want to make sure they get not raw, but just real information. Because so many times we going off assumption and not really talking to the people who really do it and have experience. Like, no, this is what they're looking for.
Hmm.
So yeah, and then sometimes like we fall ourselves into the imposter syndrome. Like we talk ourselves out of situations because we feel that we didn't get that PhD, or we did like we were like one of the most overeducated communities, but like it's still I talk to my other friends, oh, I need to go get this other certification, I need to go get this other thing. like man, going back more debt, all right, like
I
so
know.
like yeah, so it's like man, enough, yeah. Sorry, I'll stop there.
That's fine. So, one last question. Where do you see the future of ServiceNow heading? Meaning, like the future direction of ServiceNow. How are you keeping up with your competition, or are you even trying to keep up with your competition?
I think like right now the digital transformation COVID has been like a blessing, a curse. I mean, it definitely has been bad for a lot of industries, but the tech industry has benefited tremendously from that because now a lot of company was like, haven't updated their systems in so long and
Hmm.
cyber stuff, cybersecurity. So now you got no choice because people can't come to work. Like, how we gonna? So ServiceNow has, I mean, our goal right now is to go to $15 billion company annual return every year. We are already $100 billion company, but when you say $15 billion, like we do subscription model, that's like we have people sign up for a subscription base. So to get to $15 billion annually, that's our goal. I think it came out and said 2024 is is our goal. So like I say, there's plenty growth, plenty opportunity here, and I love service now because we're not um, a big tech company that has 50,000 employees, 100,000 employees, the IBMs of the world, the Dells of the world. Well, those companies, they're kind of like top heavy, right? They've been around for so long. And ServiceNow, we've been around, 18 years. So we've been around for a minute, but I would like to say like we're growing, like we're still growing to the point where we're at 15,000, we at mid size. So it's plenty of opportunity to grow within the company. And that's another thing, like with minorities, like there's one thing to say, oh, y'all work at I don't know, X company that everybody knows of because of the brand recognition. But then like you stuck in the same position for 10 years
Right.
doing the same thing and your skill set haven't matured or grown at all, you still answering the phone and still in the call center, right? And a company like ServiceNow, you come in at one department and things are growing so fast, like you mentioned earlier, help create the next role for yourself because you volunteering, working on projects. And that's just another thing I tell people like, you may get with a company and your role may be, I don't know, whatever it may be, your title is. Find like other things you can work within the company and lend your service. Lend your service to another department or another people so they can know the value you bring to the company. Yeah.
Okay, one more question. This last one for real. How can someone learn service now unless they work at the company that uses service now? So I guess the question is, how can you learn service now if you're not already working for a company that uses service now? I know you guys have a
Yeah.
certification track. How can you become
Yeah.
certified?
Yeah, we have a program called Next Gen. Next Gen program where we have people go and teach people certification. We got a thing called Instance. You'll learn how your first introduction to ServiceNow and our platform and stuff like that. So we do certifications. Another way, then basically you get the certification. You can go work for like our partners, Deloitte, Accenture, other people like that. So the certification is another way. Then also a good track, right? So yeah, so that's another thing. I can make sure you guys get that information to Next Gen program. We have at ServiceNow. So it's a great program, and we're doing, and that's a global program also. It's in UK, America. So yeah, we in Amsterdam, India.
Very good. Well, Chris, thanks again for agreeing to do this. I see a lot of growth with service now and very interested in teaching it here in Alabama to get more minorities in the field and working for your company.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I look forward to making sure we have students and like I say, even people who grown, right? Because that track, like I think a lot of people look at the certification piece and say, oh, only for high school students. But it might be somebody that's in their 30s, right? 35, 40. Like, how do I transition? I've been a teacher, I've been working at this job, and I'm like, what do I have to do to transition? And you get one of these certifications, pass the test, and then now you go apply for another company. Then you kind of like go on that journey of working your way, working your way up. And then, like I say, and now when I say working your way up, like with these certification, I just want to put a number on it just so we clear. Like just with the certification, the average job you kind of get would kind of be like a $25 hour job just for that certification. So like even though that's still so $25 an hour job, that's equate to $50,000 a year. So like that's still just getting in entry level somewhere to be able to kind of, learn your ropes, learn your chops, and kind of move up and learn the industry. Then you kind of then find where you best fit at and all that good jazz.
Yes, I tell everyone, I think I mentioned it to you, that I think technology is the great economic equalizer. All
Mm,
thing you can get a certification in and or a degree in and start out entry level making
yeah,
$50,000.
yeah,
I mean,
totally.
that is a huge gap for somebody who is impoverished.
I mean, like I said, it's a huge gap, but like we talk ourselves out of situations because whatever reason, right? Like, and it's just no, and I tell people you still gonna put in the same amount of work whether you working at PF Chains as a
Hmm.
grill person, cook. You still working 10 to 12 hour days, right? So
Exactly.
like, it's no change. Like the difference is I'm making $10 an hour as a grill master, or I can be learning some skill set that yeah, I might be uncomfortable, man. I don't understand what they telling me. Yeah, you just get over that, and then once you get over that roadblock, then you kind of start to enjoy it. You started like, man, I'm figuring this stuff out. Like I
Hmm.
love doing this.
Well, okay, we won't hold up your time any longer. Again, thanks for doing this and gave us a wealth of knowledge concerning ServiceNow.
Oh yes, and yeah, definitely. And then I also tell people like, not to say it's an indicator of a company, but just like go look at our stock price. Right now I think we at $500 a share.
Hmm.
A lot of people don't even think about that, right? You like I never heard of ServiceNow, but then you go look at not our competitors, but like other people in the industries, the Microsofts, the Disney, the Nikes. You're like, oh, Nike's only trading at $120 a share. ServiceNow at
Yes.
$500. Like, how's that? Wow, right? And it was just like I say, we haven't been exposed to ServiceNow because ServiceNow don't sell to consumers, who sell to enterprises.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Very good.
thank you so
Thanks
much.
again. I will be in touch with you.
Yes, roll tide.
Exactly. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.